Prepare to enter roundabout in 800 meters.
Oh, before 800 meters, I'll probably take this car. Okay. So basically, yeah. You can't say that we don't experiment. Therefore, we're also perfectly scientific. It's not the full field of everything that linguists do.
In 100 meters,
but it is as
enter
much a branch
roundabout.
of
Take
linguistics
second
as
exit. You are over the speed limit.
keeping pets is not zoology, of course.
Take second exit.
Oh no, I've got a slightly different problem. I broke my view of that mirror. Do something about that. Okay, that's good.
Drive 46 kilometers.
Don't drive the way I drive. Make sure your car's safe before setting off. Okay. This yellowy look of dried out dead grass has been most of the journey, with then trees behind, often covered in snow. But in the right light, it looks very drab at the moment, but in the right light that can actually have a lovely golden reflection. So even something like that, when you're dried out dead grass, can be something that nature can put glory into. Or, well, I say nature can put glory into, it sounds irreligious. I mean, it reflects the glory of creation, of the Creator, really. Even something which sometimes might look ugly to us is capable of looking tremendously beautiful. So I think I'm getting round to saying here that that Latvian is interesting, even though it's not as morphologically conservative as Lithuanian. And if I had to pick, having been in Riga this morning, somewhere in the Baltics to live, I certainly think that Riga would top it. Just from the point of view, I mean, it's prettier than Prague in my view, in my opinion. I really like Prague as well. I like being there for, well, a year out of 4. Over the course of 4 years, if you put the time together I spent there, it came up to about a year, piecemeal up to a year out of those 4 years, because in the first year I was there like 3 days a week. The second year I was there like 3 days every 2 weeks, and I was in the third year 3 days every 3 weeks, and my final year was about 3 days in a month. And if you stick that little lot together, you get about a year's worth of being in Prague over the course of 4 years. So, a little bit like the Goldie system, isn't it? If you're doing the maths in that now in your head, you'll see that the maths that you have to do to understand the Goldie system isn't entirely dissimilar. But, despite liking Prague an awful lot, I think that Riga's it's not as big. The amount of those really nice places in Riga is less than in Prague. In Prague it goes on for quite a few miles, whereas in Riga I think it's about a mile's worth of it. But still, nevertheless, I would say it is, well, it looks very, very pretty. It looks very undisturbed in many cases. It's obviously, they have to have renovated it, but I think they've carried out the renovation in a splendid way that really gives you the feel of a bygone era. The fact that it's not crawling with tourists is good. I think the ratio of really local people to tourists is much better than in Prague. What can I say more? How am I doing?
You are over the speed limit.
In Latvia you don't have to worry about being on Polish plates. In Lithuania you don't have to worry either, but there might be some people that are not too keen on you. In Russia right now, well, I don't think I worried anyway. I didn't get any hostility shown, other than the usual level of driver-to-driver hostility that exists normally in Russia anyway. I don't think there's anything to do with plates. Yeah, I basically feel as though this is the European Union. I mean, I crossed the border yesterday, crossing over first the Russian side and then the Latvian side. The Russia side was, you know, this is the typical thing. Every time they start off the conversation by pointing out that you didn't do something quite right, but they're going to let you off. Yeah? Well, you are not supposed to be in this lane. This green corridor is for Russian citizens. And I said, well, it's not like that at the airport, is it? But how you got into this country? You came in how? I said, well, I was in the green corridor when I came in. Really? So show me your taможная декларация, your paper, your custom declaration for the car, your document for the car. So I pulled out a document, you know, first of all I pulled my normal document out, then the временный ввоз, the temporary customs clearance, which I did back then, 2 weeks ago. okay, I'm let you off, but next time you be sure to go down the proper lane. Yeah, like they kind of like, and every time, well, it's often when you're dealing with officialdom in Russia, they try and accommodate you, but at the same time they want you to know that you're getting done a really special favour here, yeah, and you should be grateful for it. And that happens again and again, so I just say thank you. I think it's risky to say, oh, thank you very much, and here's a token of my appreciation. Yeah, I don't think they're expecting tokens of appreciation now because it's too risky for them to take them these days anyway. But it's just become a kind of standard part of the conversation that you make the person feel like they've received a big concession from you, and then afterwards, you know, everything's going to go well, and they're going to think well of you because you gave them a concession, and everything else, you know, they're not going to give you a hard time either, or take the mickey out of you or anything because you gave them a big concession. What a beautiful forest over to the left there. Pity I can't move the dash cam, but that's really hauntingly beautiful in the fog. Those tall pines, the ones left over after some felling must have taken place there, but the ones left there hauntingly beautiful there in a slight fog, in a slight mist there. Very nice. So going through the Russian checkpoint was actually quite easy. The Latvian one was rather harder. And the Russians, they wanted to look at my stuff. They said, well, what have you got in the car? I said, are you taking much? I said, well, yeah, it's quite a lot in the car. Ah, quite a lot, eh? So what you got? Well, everything that was in my flat, yeah. It's just, you know, I lost my job in the recession, the crisis, the Russian crisis. And basically, you know, everything that was in my flat I'm taking back. It's all my own stuff, yeah. So what you collected here in Russia? So, well, I've got some books. Ah, books, yeah, you got books, right? Okay, yes, I've got some books. And what kind of books you got? Well, they're all, you know, just about tax and accounting, you know, Nalogavoy Codex, you know, it's all the tax code and things like that. Are they old? Well, no, there's no point in keeping an old tax codex. It's out of date the next year. You know, you just keep a few years going back, and then you might as well throw them away. You didn't collect any nationalne ценности, any national values. No, I didn't take any national valued books, any antiques. There aren't any antique books in my collection. How old are your books? How old? Well, maybe there's something that's 20 years old. I don't know, but you know, I suppose the oldest book that I've got there is actually Teach Yourself Welsh, which is an old primer or primer. I don't know how you want to pronounce it. I say primer, but I heard people saying primer. And it's, I suppose that one would be older, but I didn't want to really talk about that because they might have said this is a national treasure. But if it is a national treasure, then it's a national treasure of my genedl and not their genedl, my narod, or the Welsh, yeah. Although I don't sound like one, I'm a quarter Welsh. So basically, so I didn't go down that road. I didn't expect her to start opening and looking, but she did. She started getting boxes out and looking into them. And after she realised how many different languages there were among my books, she said, "Oh, you're learning languages." And so I go, well, yes, so how many you speak? And so I said, well, you can see there's about 20 different languages here that I'm learning, but I don't count them in my list. I've also got about 20 languages in the list that I can sort of read in. I'm not fluent in them the whole time, you know, I have to get up a few, at least that's been a few days to get active, but there's about 20 in my list that I can use. And, hi, friendly looking guy. And basically, that's another advantage of having that thing next to me. I don't look mean if I don't take people that are obviously looking for a lift, because my car's obviously packed to the brim. So you know, she's learning that I've got this all of this stuff. She then says, "Well, this is very impressive. Okay, you can go." So it has a lot of advantages, but because she didn't actually open every single box, she only opened about a third of them. When she realised what was going on, that I wasn't the sort of person who was likely to be smuggling contraband, unless you got any contraband words and sentences. Then you might get very controversial sentence. But basically, I got through that one fairly unscathed. That took about half an hour. Then it took 1.5 hours to get through the Latvian side. And they wanted every document you can think of. Interestingly, I was not asked at any point about insurance in Russia, or about my driving license or international driving license, the carnet thing, which I'd spent time preparing beforehand and had with me in any event. All of these things were never looked at one single time. So in Russia, when I got to the Latvian border, which is effectively home, they want to see my insurance document, they want to see my driver's license. Why that has any relationship whatsoever with crossing a border into Schengen, I don't know. Nobody looks at this going from England into France, for example. Nobody looks at that there. That's also technically speaking an entry to Schengen. Maybe they think that the English are bound to have everything correct. I don't know. People coming in from Russia are unlikely, but nevertheless, they didn't think that way, you know, in Latvia, that an Englishman coming in from the Russian side is bound to have everything correct. No. There I got everything was looked at. So yeah, insurance paper, driving license. On the way you get this talonchik, as they call it, which is a piece of paper which gets all the stamps on. And the reason why they have to have it is that they've got a gang of people all doing different things to you at once. And then you've got to go to two windows, one for passport matters and then another for customs matters. Going to that means that you've already got to show things with initials on different other pieces of paper that they give you that you filled out, has some situations and things. That basically means that yes, we've inspected him, and everybody gets an inspection who's going into Latvia by car from the Russian side. Everybody can expect inspection, not from this side, because it's a Schengen country, so going in from Russia, everybody's going to get an inspection. You're not going to get through without having something looked at. So again, boxes out, look inside, poke this, poke that, and of course the chassis number.
You are
Open your
over
boot
the
at the
speed
front
limit.
and show me your chassis number there, show me the chassis number on the windscreen. Open every door. So very thorough. And of course, before they even get to you, you're waiting for them to do the same trick to several other people. So even though there were only 3 people in the queue before me because of the paucity of people going across the border in personal cars, and there were about 3 lanes of people in cars. So there was about 9 people before me, but being done in sets of 3. So there were 3 before me in my queue. It was no issue. And again, it's no difference there if you go in the green channel or you go in the red channel, you're going to get inspected anyway. It's just obviously if you are going to declare something, you've got to go through the red channel. But the inspection procedure seems to me to be identical in each. Whereas at an airport, if you go through the red channel, you're going to get a discussion, and if you go through the green channel, you're usually not going to get a discussion. But if you do get a discussion, it turns out you should have been in the red channel, then it's problematic. So anyway, it's 1.5 hours after leaving Russia, I was actually free on the road in Latvia, by which time it was dark and snowing. Well, it started snowing soon after. So, but I made good progress through Russia, 600 kilometres of what you saw earlier. And then I went on to Riga because I needed a place to actually, like I say, stop and put the car in guarded parking. And the other place I found that could offer this, I had to prepare something, otherwise I'd have been stuck like last time coming up, and I didn't.
You are over the speed
So I booked something,
limit.
prepaid it, and knew that I would have a guarded parking place, and everything was hunky-dory with it. I went to Riga, obviously, that's where I always come from. So getting on to Riga, it doesn't look far on the map, but at that time of night it certainly feels far. It took quite a few hours to get over to Riga, but it was worth it. I can tell you it was really worth going to Riga. And now on this way back down again, I'm seeing new things as well coming down here. Didn't see much last night because it was obviously dark. Things, despite the fact that this has obviously got lights on either side, they're not working during the day, but very little was lit up, so you can see absolutely next to nothing coming down through that way. And this is more, this western part of the country, or Russian Orthodox Church over there, is much more typical and much more, I suppose, more going on, more villages, more people. So to get a flavour of Latvia, I don't think that going down Rezekne Daugavpils is necessarily doing the country an awful lot of credit. So I think for the sake of this film as well, and for my own knowledge of Latvia, they're so patriotic. They've got their flag out there. I don't know if it's their national day or something, but their flags are out all over the place. They're like the Danes. They love this flag of theirs, and it's a nice flag. I don't know if you remember these biscuits from England. If you're British, we got a lot of nice biscuits in England. People tend to think that British cuisine has nothing much, but we've got a lot of nice biscuits in Britain. Some of them made by Premier Foods, like Mr. Kipling stuff as well. They've got a lot of good brands. Unfortunately, I applied to them for a job and didn't get it, but still, I'm not going to hold it against them. There's always going to be, if there's a candidate that's better, they've got to take him. I wish them luck. Their brands are excellent, so I would have liked to work for them. I would have really felt that working for Mr. Kipling would have been a nice thing to do, but it wasn't to be. Never mind. Tough luck on me, but there we are. One of the biscuits, I'm not sure it's a Premier brand, but one of the biscuits you can get in England has got like 2 chocolatey shortbread like fingers on the top and the bottom, and like the white stuff from custard creams in the middle. You get chocolate versions of like custard creams, and you get the custard cream which is like got the custard in the middle, or the cream or whatever it is, the custard cream, and it's got like
You are over the speed limit.
a white flour shortcake on top and underneath, oh yeah, it's basically custard cream. And you've got bourbon biscuits, which have got chocolate cream in the middle, and they've got the 2 chocolatey brown shortbreads on the top and the bottom. What this flag reminds me of is what I used to do as a child. I used to sometimes mix them together. I'd try and, I'd make hybrid bourbons and custard cream. So I would like change them around and carefully scrape off the custard cream from the custard cream and put it in the middle of a bourbon biscuit instead of the bourbon cream, which would go in the custard cream. What I actually was not doing unwittingly was actually producing the Latvian flag. And how they could have known when selecting it.